Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Blogcast with your hosts Will and Simon. Simon, what's today's topic?
Yeah, g'day, Will. Well, today we are going to look at another protocol, Lens Protocol. What are your thoughts on this protocol, Will?
I think it looks really cool. It's what the geeks are calling a permissionless, decentralized social graph. But in English, for the rest of us, it's a social network that is on the blockchain that everybody can build on, which is really cool and different from like Steemit and Hive and Ppath and Mind. So it's something really interesting.
Yeah, and exactly. And I think the main thing that Lens Protocol is doing differently to those other protocols that you've just mentioned is that it's trying to allow people to be their Ethereum address is effectively their identity, which holds all their content and can move to whatever social media platform gets created. Whereas the other ones, you are beholden to that protocol, just like you are beholden to Facebook, you're beholden to YouTube. Lens Protocol is trying to allow you as a content creator and your content can move between any of the different platforms that get built.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So essentially what it is that it's a protocol that lets anybody build their own social network. So you can build let's say a Web3 YouTube, a Web3 Twitter, blogging platform, anything you want. Now the cool thing is that myself as a consumer, I can come into that app and use it and create data and information. But the really cool thing is that that data belongs to me and I can migrate it, including my connections and everything. Let's say I'm in a blogging platform or a tweeting platform, and then I move to a YouTube platform. My connections are still intact, unlike what would happen if I move from, say, Facebook to YouTube. Those are two different platforms, and then the data is completely siloed in both of those. So that's the really cool thing about Lens Protocol.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess to reiterate that point, it's kind of like if you've built up an audience based off your videos, then that audience can still exist if you migrate over to a Twitter kind of competitor. Your audience can still connect with you and find you automatically straight away, which is something that obviously cannot be done now and makes this really kind of a big point of difference.
And I want to keep my friends, basically. I want to choose the interfaces that I want. So let's say I'm on a Facebook Web3 version and somebody builds something really similar. I want to have the choice of the interface I want to use. And that means that different interfaces can compete for the same underlying data, for the same friends list, and so on.
So let's talk about the project a bit more. And this is kind of one thing that I guess really excites me about this. Who's behind this project?
I was really surprised to find out that it's built by the same builders of Aave. So they've definitely got a lot of experience under their belt. It seems that they've probably got enough funding as well.
Yeah, it's Stanley Kulchvik. I think I'll probably mashed up his last name there. But yeah, he's obviously a very well-renowned and very well-known person in crypto space. And Aave speaks of itself as being the big OG of DeFi.
And I feel like there's always been a gap in the market for a social network that is permissionless. I mean, Facebook owns my data right now, but I'm not confident that at some point in the future, they may decide to take that away from me. They may decide to block me and, there goes my data. So it's really nice to have something that's completely unstoppable, meaning that, no one can stop it from functioning. And it's also permissionless, meaning that no one can stop me or anybody else from joining.
Yeah, and that's been a big contentious thing, especially with Twitter of recent years, with Twitter, banning certain individuals from being on there. And there's lots of questions over whether that is right, whether Twitter should be, infringing political views or any kind of other views on its users. But they are a private company and it's in their terms and conditions that they can basically choose to do whatever they want with the individuals. And so they have that right. People who don't like that and disagree with that, well, Lens Protocol is giving them an option. It's permissionless and no one can take it away from you, which is, unique and quite possibly needed.
Yeah, and that's great. And what that means to me is that, for example, let's say I'm on a Twitter that doesn't particularly agree with my views, or maybe I'm on a Twitter that I don't like the views I'm seeing on that form of decentralized Twitter. The cool thing is that I can just move to the other one and take my friends list with me and basically just consume the content on that other one. There's no need to ban anybody unless, in my opinion, unless it's, explicitly illegal or explicitly causes harm or something, So this is one cool. I think you're right in that there is definitely a gap in the market that Aave saw and that they've decided to exploit.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit more about the protocol and the technology behind it. So what is Lens Protocol built on?
Lens Protocol is built on Polygon, which is an EVM chain. That means that you can run Ethereum-like code on top of it. But the really cool thing about Polygon is it is one of the lower cost chains out there, and it's also pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're going to be performing hundreds of thousands of transactions every single day, that is a lot of gas costs. So having it on the Polygon network obviously makes a lot of sense. Currently, as I understand it, the fees to transact on the Lens protocol is being covered by the Lens protocol at the moment. But obviously in the future, that may change. And currently, it is gatekept on who can access it. So I think they're still in the testing kind of phase, still trying to iron out bugs. And so not anybody can just go and jump on Lens protocol yet, which is I think a bit of a downer at the moment because it's been around for quite a while.
I would hope so. I'd really like to have a go at it. And you're right about the fees. They're being covered right now by Lens protocol through what you call a relayer. Every comment, every post, every like, every repost is essentially a cost because it has to go on the blockchain.
And I think that brings us to a very interesting point, I guess, about things being put on blockchain and people needing to understand that to go on the blockchain, there's transaction fees. Lens protocol being social media, every time you comment, every time you like, are people willing to pay those transaction costs?
That's a really good point, Simon. I think the game here is that Lens protocol is built on top of NFTs. So if I create a profile that essentially is an NFT, if you decide to follow me, you get a follow NFT. If you create a comment or something like that, that is an NFT as well. So I believe what they're going for is to allow content creators to have some sort of a business model around everything that they do. So that means that unlike Reddit, where it's not really content creation, it's essentially just sharing links and the like. If you go on Reddit and you create a post, it doesn't cost you anything, so you don't really have to think about it. Whereas if it's sort of an NFT-based system that you are paying for, it does mean that as a content creator, you will need to think about whether posting this will make you a little bit of money or not. Let's say I create a video and I post it on Lens protocol and you decide to own it. There could be a cost there and that could be high and make money. And you could speculate, I suppose, towards the future value of the content, or you might just want to own it because it's great.
Probably something that business entrepreneurs will probably see the benefit to the cost. The challenge that I find is the audience. And I guess Lens protocol, the algorithms behind it could be very different, but any social media platform out there, the more likes you get, the more comments you get, the higher the rating, the more people get to see it. But on Lens protocol, those likes and comments is your audience paying in the future potentially for that. And so I don't know how that will work. I don't know how much of the audience will want to participate in that. Are they going to like a video, which then costs them 7 cents, hopefully less in the future? That I think is one of the biggest hurdles. I think entrepreneurs could see the benefit of the expense. The content consumers may not see the benefit.
That's a really good point. I think something we have to remember is that Lens is the protocol, and so what it is it's just a space for developers to come on top and build different products, different experiments. There's already been a couple of out there. I've seen some that are really similar to Instagram and YouTube, Facebook, that kind of thing. Some really pretty ones. The protocol allows the developer to decide exactly how the fee structure works. That means if I create my own app, I can actually choose to subsidize the fees or pay all of them, but then I still need to have a business model that has to work. So let's say OpenSea creates something really cool and fanciful on top of Lens. It means that they need to have a business model. It means that they need to make more money than they're spending on the comments and things like that. I think what Lens really needs to do is once they've created the protocol, they do need to create an app that acts as an example of how can I, as a developer, create something that is profitable. They need to give me a model that actually works, or they need to keep subsidizing the fees. I think it's either one of those two.
Yeah, and I think it's quite possibly what's needed on there is something that's a step up from our existing social medias. Because I've had a look on Lens, and yes, they've got a YouTube copy, they've got a Twitter copy, they've got a Facebook. They basically had Me Too products go on there, copying the existing ones out there, but they don't have anything that stands out as being doesn't exist on Web 2, needed to be on Web 3. They need that standout app that sits there and stands above all the rest, because you need that to get the network effects of people going, well, I'm willing to leave what I already use to go and use this better version.
That's a really good point. I mean, you're right. I say that I do like the apps that are on Lens protocol. They're kind of cool to play around with, but at the end of the day, I think I'm going to end up still using Web 2. I'm still going to stay on YouTube. I don't know why I should watch the videos on Lens yet, unless there's some sort of incentive, unless they're better. But you're right. They do need to have an advantage outside of being YouTube on the blockchain that makes them better.
Yeah, and that's not just social media in general, that's blockchain development in general. If you're going to put something on the blockchain, it needs to be significantly better than what exists in Web 2 for people to come across. The interesting thing, I guess, about Lens is that at the moment, obviously, they have not released a token or anything like that, which is usually a really good way to incentivize and bring people into it. But I've read that they have held off on that basically because they don't want it to be effectively a yield farming exercise or a very short-lived network effect of bringing people in. They wanted to have a bit more of an organic growth before they look at releasing any kind of token.
I do actually agree that I remember Steam started out with a token, and I can't say the quality on Steam was amazing. It was just people posting things. I've tried posting a blog on Steam and just got all sorts of random comments that really didn't make any sense. But it would really be nice to have a token,
Yeah.
I wonder, yeah. And they've also been quite secretive about their business model. How do they expect to make money? How do they expect us as developers to make money? I think that's something that they really need to highlight.
Yeah, and I think they have mentioned that they do have the ability to turn on fee collection at some point in time, but obviously many other projects, they are pushing that off as far as possible till they get the huge network effects. I also think that, when you compare it to Steam, as you said, they had the Steam token straight away. People learned how to game that system and how to, create bots to create more comments, and so that they would, farm the money effectively. And that kind of thing killed Steam in many ways. So I'm sure Lens watched that progression and saw what happened to Steam, and are definitely trying to avoid the ability for someone to farm it or bot it in any way to make money from it.
I'm really bullish on the future of Lens, and I'm really curious what's going to come out. I really wish that they would give us better suggestions on how to monetize things, because I think if they can solve the whole monetization thing, if they can give me a developer a way to essentially profit from creating products on it, and not only that, give content creators a way to profit from putting content there outside of putting it on YouTube or other places, I think that could be a game changer. That would be the reason for other creators to move from these other places. That would be the network effect, to move all the content over to Lens. And with the content, I think the people. Talking about videos, YouTube is king. BitChute has been around for a while. There's been a couple of people who duplicate content, but I rarely go to BitChute because I know that I can find the content on YouTube. And the only time I find myself on places like BitChute is when there's content that is solely lacking on YouTube. I first check YouTube, where I've got a habit of checking, and then that's why I go to BitChute, which is a little bit more decentralized. And that's the only reason. So I think I totally agree with you that there needs to be a super compelling reason, like a different application than just being with a blockchain.
So as there's no token at the moment, what are your thoughts when they release a token? Good investment, bad investment? What do you reckon?
I definitely want to keep my eye on Lens. I would really like to see what the token will be used for. I really like the idea that it is NFT based, in that everything is an NFT, because I'm really interested in NFTs, but I just don't want to get like some picture and speculate on that. I'd rather speculate on an entire platform that is composed of NFTs. And not only that, I'm really curious about what is built on it, because I think those guys can also have their tokens. So I think it's an interesting space to watch. We're starting to grow from tokens that are essentially just power protocols, and then now there's all sorts of experimentation on tokens that are user facing. Now, whether those are going to be interesting or successful, that's a different story. But I think it's a really cool space to watch.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I agree with you. And my only thing I'll add to that is I think I wouldn't bet against the creators of Aave. I wouldn't bet against Astani being able to come up with something really unique and point of difference that makes people want to go there. They've proven themselves to be really good at creating blockchain technology. Let's see if they can get some network effects. And they only get that by users coming on board. They only get that by the killer app. Otherwise, at the moment, I'd sit there and say it could die a slow death if they don't get that kind of network effect.
So, in other words, interesting project, interesting to watch. Let's see how it goes.
Definitely a let's see how it goes kind of thing. And look, let's actually go back in comparison. We talk about Aave. When Aave back in the day used to be ETHLend. I don't know if you ever remember that, but that was definitely, I remember ETHLend, and it was more of a peer-to-peer lending system, and it was horrible. It was just a terrible system to use. You needed other individuals to actually want to lend you money to borrow. So it was just, one-to-one kind of peer to lending, or one to a few. But when they pivoted and they kind of needed, I guess, the DeFi blocks of the Uniswaps out there to allow auto liquidations, when they pivoted to having liquidity pools, it was a game changer. And so I still sit there and think that, yeah, these guys could definitely come up with something really cool that pivots the protocol enough to make it unstoppable. But not yet.
But not yet. Not yet.
But not yet.
All righty, mate. That has been another week for us. Thanks very much for your time, Will.
All right, thanks, Simon. Until next time.